Okay, so here now in the second half, we're going to talk about how to use the gravitas, grammar, advanced vocabulary, immediate, together answers, and sound, in the part 2 and part 3 of the speaking test. Okay? Alright, so in part 2, now you have the chance to really show what you can do with English. This is typical of a type 2 type question. The examiner will start by giving you the topic. Let's talk about teachers. In a moment, I'm going to give you a topic. On the topic is a question. In a moment, I'm going to give you a card. On the card, there is a question. I'd like for you to answer the question in 1 to 2 minutes. You will have 1 minute to think about your answers. Here's some paper and a pencil to make some notes if you wish. Do you understand? You say yes. 1 minute later, they say, please start speaking now. Now, good technique is to, just like in a presentation, is begin your answer with something like this. Here's the question. Describe a teacher who made a strong impression on you. You should say who the teacher was, where and what they taught, what they did that made an impression. And then they'll put a fourth one down here. I don't know why they don't put this one there, but they don't. And they give you 3 bullet points, and then you should also explain why you found them impressive. All right, so you've got 4 things you need to do here. Answer the question, who, where and what, their actions, what they did, and answer the question, why. So you've got your paper, you're going to make some notes. A lot of students don't make notes. They think, I know what to say. Now, if you know the topic very well, that might be okay to do. But even, when I was putting down some notes for this, thought of some vocabulary that I wanted to make sure I included in the answer. So during that minute, what you want to do is make notes, but don't write complete sentences. Use short words, abbreviations, even symbols, okay? And organize them in using different parts of the question. A common way to do this is the spidergram, okay? So here's my notes. Very bad handwriting, but again, I'm writing quickly here, okay? Spidergram. You put the topic in the middle, and this is like a little spider because he's got arms that go out in different directions. So, there is no one correct way to make notes. If you want to just put them in little bullet points, that's fine. But this technique allows you to put it however you want. Okay. All right, so note here, abbreviations. Psych at ECC. You have no idea what ECC is. I do. Psych, what do you think that is?
Maybe we teach psychology.
It teaches psychology. Okay, some interesting vocabulary like demeanor. That's high level vocabulary. Behavior. And then other notes. I tried this now. What does that mean? Doesn't matter. I know what it means. Okay, so once again, here was the things you have to talk about. All right, so which note answers who the teacher was? Yeah, which part here answers this question?
Middle one.
Yeah, Mr. question mark. Where and what they taught. Right? Okay. What they, where, what they taught. What they did. Smiled, nameplates, demeanor, moving around. And why? Probably this. All right. Okay, let's listen. I want you guys to discuss with each other these questions. Okay. Did the speaker include everything from his notes? Did he answer all parts of the question? Did he hesitate? And there's a question here. Do you think he should have lied? Is it okay to invent an answer, make something up? What pronunciation features did you notice? And good God, I hope this works. Oh.
I'm going to talk about one teacher who had an impression on me. He was an instructor of psychology at Edmonds Community College, where I was taking some classes. And I had already graduated by that point, and these were mostly just out of self-interest. Now, I can't remember his name, but I do remember what he looks like, how he spoke, and I really don't remember much of what he said, but how he said it, that was the important thing. He would walk all over the classroom. He didn't stand in one spot and write on the board. He would look us in the eye and make eye contact. He would always deliver his lectures with a smile on his face, and he was entertaining, interesting, and authoritative. He knew his stuff. Now, why that will always impress me is that now that I'm a teacher, I try to emulate some of his style. Yes, some of the things I do, I took from him. Now, I later learned that these are actual teaching techniques, but I hope I'll always have the same kind of energy and entertaining demeanor that my instructor had back then.
That was about 90 seconds for an answer, okay? So it was between 1 and 2 minutes. You should always shoot for 2 minutes. But if you do find a way to end your answer effectively, okay, then do so. They may, after you finish, ask you a follow-up question. With this type of answer, they might ask you the question of, what parts of what he does do you do? Something like that. No, even native English speakers will sometimes have trouble speaking for 2 minutes without pausing or getting stuck. That's why notes are important. If we go back and look at the notes. Okay. The speaker got stuck when, right after what impressed him. So the speaker got stuck, and he looked down and smiled. Yes. He delivered his lectures with a smile on his face. That kept the person going. Did he include everything from his notes? We mentioned this? No. Sometimes you don't mention everything on your notes. That's fine. Answer all parts of the question? Yes. Hesitate? A little. Now how about, I don't remember his name. Can you lie in the speaking test? Should you? What do you think? Just take a guess. Is it allowed? Is it against the rules?
don't think so.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, okay, it's a technique, make something up. Here's the problem though, is that it's more difficult to speak fluently about something that's not true. So generally speaking, you want to say, you want to keep to the facts and truth. Pronunciation features. In the first part, he used contrast. It's not so much what he taught, but how he taught. What and how are emphasized because they contrast each other. There was chunking ideas. He would walk around the room, and he always gave his lectures with a smile on his face, chunks of words. Yes, sometimes we get stuck. That's why notes are important. They help you get back on track. If you hesitate and you can't think of what to say next, don't panic. It's all right. It happens. Okay, so let's move on to part 3, generally speaking. Now, the topic in part 2 was a teacher. The examiner will begin the next part by saying, we've been talking about a teacher. Let's now talk about education. It'll be related to the topic 2 on the second one in some way. Let's talk about how we remember people. Might be an example. And now, it's not about you anymore. It is similar to part 1, but your answers should be longer. And the questions, just like in part 1, are written so that you can produce certain grammar and vocabulary and ways of explaining things. But they're asked, these questions will let you or ask for more advanced vocabulary and grammar. Things like the impersonal passive. It is said that education is very important. Many people believe that, or it is believed. People say, that's the impersonal passive. Unreal past conditionals. These are great. It's something in the past that's not real, but if it had happened, how things would be different. If I hadn't met Mr. Question Mark, I wouldn't be a teacher today. The third conditional. Future perfect. By this time next year, I will have been, it's will have been. Just to name a few. You're going to be asked about unfamiliar topics that you've never thought about before. About questions that are quite complicated. So, what do you think that are? Do you think that governments should spend money on space exploration? I don't know. Okay. Why does poverty remain a problem in the world? Or complicated questions, and you won't know what to say because you've never thought about it before, and you don't have an opinion. What you should do in that case is, if you can't think of an answer, use something called hedging. Something we do in discussions where you talk about what it might be, or it could be. I guess the money for space travel might be spent for better things, but space travel could lead to some advantages. Don't talk like you're sure. Just, could be this, could be that. Or use set phrases and paraphrasing to give yourself time to think. So for example, people today don't ride horses like they used to. Do you think that's a good or a bad thing? I don't care. Well, to give yourself time to think, you say something like, well, I've never thought about that before. That's an interesting question. Now be sure if you use that's an interesting question, it is an interesting question. So if they ask you, are you a student or do you work? Well, that's an interesting question. No, that's not an interesting question. That's an everyday question. Okay. Also, it's not a listening test, okay? And they write the questions so that everyone should be able to understand them. But if there's something that you're not clear about in the question, don't answer the question that you think might be asked. That's not a good idea. Instead, say, I'm sorry, could you say that again in a different way? Could you rephrase the question? They can in part 3. They're not going to explain the exact meaning of vocabulary to you, but they might use a different word than that. So for example, so do you think that volunteer organizations are of growing importance today? Volunteer organizations, that's a simple one. But if you didn't know it, so could you rephrase the question? Do you think people working without pay to help others is a good thing? People working without pay, volunteer. They'll do that for you. Don't overdo it though. Don't do it with every question. The examiner will get annoyed. Lastly, try to think of part 3 as more of a discussion. You're sitting down with a friend, having some tea, and talking about the world. This is not an interview, like in part 1, where asking you questions, got answers. Here it's about ideas and thoughts. And remember, it's not about you. It's generally speaking in the world, not you. Okay, now, if you get to the end, the examiner asks you a question like, since the end of World War II, nomads have become less agricultural and more settled. But what do you think the problems are with this? What? Nomads? Nomadic? What? If you get a question like that, that's really good because the examiner has choices about what questions they can ask. And if you've done a good job, they're going to finish with a really difficult question. You see, band 7, 8, or 9. Oh gosh, in their head. So those kind of questions mean that you've done a good job up till then. Okay, time for some practice. Okay, and gosh, I put this on. I don't want to invade your privacy, so this is not going to go on Facebook Live. But if the people
It's good.
at Facebook Live want to practice at home, take a screenshot or just Google typical IELTS questions, practice yourself, record yourself, and then listen later to how you sound. All right, so let's see. Okay. A, B, A, B. Okay. A, you're going to be the interviewer. You're going to ask these questions to B. Okay. We've got task 1 and then task 2 down here. Right now, we're just doing task 1. Okay. No. Wait for me, because I want to take some notes, because at the end, I'm going to give you some individual feedback, since there are only 4 of you. on what I saw. So thanks for watching.